Welcome to Negotiating Happiness, the show that helps you find happiness, success, and balance in your work and life. I'm Adriana, your host for this journey into entrepreneurship and personal growth. We're broadcasting live on 107.7 and 105.3 FM in New Orleans as part of the United Public Radio Network. We explore the latest strategies, insights, and stories from successful entrepreneurs and experts. From managing stress to building a thriving business, we've got you covered. Good afternoon, everybody. It is December the 2nd, 2024, and I can't believe it. It is 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome to Negotiating Happiness. I am your host, Adriana Fierstro, and as we mentioned, we are live on the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 and 107.7 FM in the beautiful city of New Orleans. I am here today with Sandra Nomoto. Hello, Sandra. How are you?
Hi, Adriana. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. Today, we're about to dive into some pretty interesting topics. We're going to go over, about what Sandra does, who she is. So grab your coffee, grab your lunch, and remember that we are live and we are taking questions. So you guys just pop them in the comments. If you're on Instagram, I think you know the spiel. The dashboard's a little bit weird, so I'll try and paste your question over on my side just bear with us. Okay, so today we'll dive into Sandra's experience and the social impact of the sustainable business world, and we're going to go over what the communities aren't talking about. I'm super excited about this. So who is Sandra? Sandra is an award-winning ethical marketer for cruelty-free businesses. She also offers a suite of services for authors with impact. She previously ran Conscious Public Relations Inc. for a decade, which was the fourth public relations agency in Canada to earn B Corporation certification. Nomoto is the author of 2 books, including Vegan Marketing Success Stories, the world's first vegan marketing book, honored by Vegan Choice Awards in 2023. On the side of her desk, she co-hosts VEG Network Canada, Canada's only vegan networking group, and writes for several outlets. I am so excited to hear more. Sandra, how are you? How's everything going on this beautiful, beautiful December?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, it's wild that it's December already, but I think overall, when I look back on the year, it's been pretty good. So I can't complain.
Yeah, that's good. So tell us a little bit about how you got in here. We want to hear about the personal stories. We want to hear about the impact that you wanted to make. So tell us everything.
Where should we start?
Tell me about your entrepreneurship journey.
Okay, got it. So yes, that started in 2008. I had just finished working at my first job outside of university. I went from intern to assistant to the partners of a local PR firm where I live in Vancouver. They're not around anymore, but yeah, that was a year and a half. I rose pretty quickly up the ranks in that company, and there wasn't really any room to move up from there. So I was kind of wondering what was next. My sister actually had a similar journey. She went from admin assistant to partner of a small business, and I saw her being her own boss. So I thought to myself, I can do that too. And I just started as an independent publicist in 2008. And then fast forward 10 years later, that kind of became a small little virtual agency that I had with a few team members and interns that we would bring on periodically. And then I closed that for several reasons in 2018. And then about a year and a half spent just exploring different career directions. I didn't think I was going to stay in marketing. And the year I closed my agency, so 2018 was the year that I went vegan, which was a personal goal of mine for many years. And I sat down to meditate at the end of 2019 and just got that booming intuitive voice that said, you're vegan now and you'll always be a writer. So put those things together. And I know enough times when I ignore my intuition, it just will come back to me in some other form later on. So I heard the call. I was like, all right, I got it. I threw up a service page on my personal website, which is still the site that I use now. And I just started tapping into my network and asking folks, who do you know who runs a vegan company that needs a content writer? And that's how this business started. 4 years ago, and it's since evolved. Thanks to the pandemic, I took courses in book editing and formatting. That got me started working with authors. As you said in the intro, I self-published my second book. And then I also brought back the PR element to the business because I had an old client from the agency days asked me for help again. And then a new client on the vegan side asked me, to help him get into vegan media and podcasts, which I had done for myself because of my book. So yeah, I've since expanded, and that brings us kind of where we are today.
That's amazing. And I love that you started your story with giving us a little bit of a glimpse into your thought process and meditation. I've always said that, regardless if you're woo-woo or not, which I feel like I'm more on the woo-woo side.
Me too.
Yeah, there we go. This is a good place to be. You can't ignore the scientific benefits of meditation. And that's so funny, whether you believe it's like some inner voice or some other realm voice telling you like this is what you're doing. It's kind of like that aha moment that a lot of us entrepreneurs have of, maybe this is what I want, what I truly want, what I should be doing. So finding that purpose is amazing. There's people spend entire lifetimes without finding that purpose or in search of that purpose, right?
Yeah.
Do you still
for me,
practice?
Oh, absolutely. I actually, I started to get into meditation when I started taking yoga around 2006. So that was my and I didn't really have like a steady daily practice until I took transcendental meditation in 2014. So that kind of, that is a very structured practice where they recommend you do 20 minutes twice a day. So before breakfast, before dinner. I've since kind of like created my own practice from that, which includes like a little bit of, like prayers, affirmations, and that sort of thing. But that really was the start of me doing it twice a day. And I think regardless of, like whether you believe in a higher power or not, I think meditation is super important just for grounding and just getting yourself quiet and ready for the day ahead. The intuition piece, I think, is different because I'll get intuitive hits like at different times of the day. Like, it's usually in the shower, oddly, or it's meditation. But I think, the intuitive hit, I think, will appear differently for folks. Whereas I truly believe everybody should be meditating. I don't care who you are, because how else are you supposed to get that quiet time for yourself except when you're sleeping? And at that point, you're not really like conscious. So, and I listen to a lot of podcasts and I hear, just whether it's a celebrity or just somebody who's super successful in business, they're always talking about the benefits of meditation. So I don't care who you are. I think it's like a must for everyone.
Also, like I have ADHD, so I feel like meditation helps calm all of that down. So I always talk about it and say, you know what, this is definitely what you should be doing every day. Do I do it every day? No, I don't. But this is something that I need to kind of get into the habit of doing. It's hard to start, but once you start, it's a little bit easier for sure. And I do agree that the intuitive part is a little bit different. It depends on each person, like how open they are and how they receive messages. And we're not all the same. We're not all visual or auditory or either or, you know what I mean? So it's very interesting to hear how people fall into these entrepreneurial roles and they have such a like intuitive guide to it. And typically a lot of people, when they come on the show, they start talking about how they had a problem and they solved it with this entrepreneurial, like idea, and they made something really great out of it, which is, I guess, we're super excited about because it just shows you, when life throws you a curveball, you just got to go with it.
Absolutely.
Right. So what kind of, so you spoke a little bit about how you help authors, in the vegan sphere. Do you work with other kinds of authors, or how has it developed for you?
Yeah, I'm pretty particular on the marketing side in terms of who I work with. So it does need to be a vegan company, but on the author side, it can be anyone. So in the intro, it says authors with impact. So my criteria is whether it's fiction or nonfiction, so long as your book is meant to impact people positively in some way, like that's who I want to work with. Like if you're writing a book to try and make yourself famous, or I don't know, to offend people, that's not who I want to work with. I have worked with some vegan authors, which has been awesome. But yeah, that's not a requirement on the other side.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So let's dive into kind of like the topic that we picked for today. So what is your experience? How did you start? How did you evolve, in this like social impact, sustainable business world? Tell us a little bit about what your day-to-day experience is like.
So that stems back from when I ran my agency. So I actually rebranded it to the name Conscious Public Relations in 2012. Because, I had an intuitive hit a couple of years before that. And it was really clear to me that I would really like to work with businesses. If I'm going to be promoting them, I would like to promote businesses that are doing something good for the world. And so that's why I rebranded. And it turned out to be the right thing to do, because a lot of those clients started coming to me. One of the things that I did a few years after that was certified as a B Corp. So if you're not familiar with B Corporation certification, it's essentially there's an assessment that you need to take for your business, and it assesses your business on governance. So who's in the leadership? Is it a woman? How do you impact your community? How, what kind of environmental practices do you have? There's sort of these different pillars. And so you fill out the assessment, it spits out a score. And in order to become certified, you need to have a score of at least 80 out of 200 possible points. So, so I certified the company for the first time in 2016 and started rolling in the B Corp community circles. That was great. But it wasn't until I closed that company and became vegan that I realized these communities are not talking about this huge gap that affects people in terms of social impact and the environment. And that's the animals. So we live in a world where we are coexisting with animals, whether we like it or not, right? Whether they're in our environment or we're consuming them in some way. And that is the piece that I found these communities were not talking about at all. If anything, like if they were, let's say, if the company was involved in like some habitat restoration or something like that, or they happen to be a fully vegan company, that may give you like 2 points in terms of the B Corp assessment. Aside from that, like it doesn't really take into account whether or not you're using animals in your business. And so I thought that was a huge gap. I don't know how, if you're serving meat, how you're getting certified as a B Corp, because just that piece, you're bringing cruelty to the animals, and you're also bringing cruelty to the people who work in that industry, because it is one of the worst industries to work in. The research says, you can Google that and find that out. And it also contributes to close to a third of greenhouse gas emissions. And so there's no way that we're going to combat climate change without reducing our impact on animals. And B Corp is all about sustainability and like trying to combat climate change. So again, without that animal piece, I feel like there's a huge gap in terms of social impact. So that's the reason why. I just don't think they're talking about it enough.
I didn't even realize, right? I mean, I see this all the time on like makeup brands where they get certified, they're B Corp certified, which I always assumed that means they don't do testing on animals or whatever. I mean, I guess some of it would be true, but I never thought about the corporations that actually deal with, like, that's their product, is like animal products, right?
If they're certified, I would assume that they're not testing on animals, but unless they've got like a cruelty-free certification, which again is different than vegan, right? You can be cruelty-free, not testing on animals, but still have some sort of animal-derived product. Like I would hope that if it's a B Corp certified cosmetic company, they're doing both, like it is vegan and it is cruelty-free, but yeah, unless you're seeing those labels, those logos, you don't know for sure.
Right. It's very interesting how all of that works. And I guess this plays a major part in how you do your marketing, because a lot of people do use those certifications to kind of like gain authority and to like put themselves out there as this, it's like, hey, we're B Corp certified, right? How do you deal with that? Like, how do you deal with that in your sphere when you have people that come to you for help with marketing?
Like, yeah, honestly, B Corp doesn't come across, it doesn't come into conversation too much, because I feel, I think it's still, while it is a global certification, companies all around the world can undertake it. I think it's still more known in the US versus Canada. And maybe, I think it's getting more well known in the UK as well, in terms of Europe. But yeah, people don't usually come to me and say, hey, I'm B Corp certified, or ask me questions about that process. They're usually coming to me because there's some sort of gap in their marketing that they need filled, or they want to promote their business in certain types of media. That's usually the conversation we have. And I try and make it more as clear as why my title is ethical marketer, because if you're involving harm to animals, people, or planet in some way, you're like not the right client for me. And so and usually the right folks tend to come my way. So honestly, B Corp doesn't really come, it's not a common conversation topics when clients come to me.
Right. Well, it's just very interesting, because I have this conversation with a lot of entrepreneurs. Before we go in, it's hello Bart and hello Joe. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. If you have questions for Sandra or for me, please pop them in the chat and we'll try to address them all. But what I was saying is very interesting, that even in this realm, which sometimes it could be very triggering for people to talk about this topic, right? I'm sure you've been in rooms where people have just been like, this isn't my lifestyle or whatever, which kind of goes back to, well, not every client is going to be your ideal client. We have this conversation with all the entrepreneurs, and I always tell them, I was like, it's okay to say no to people. It's okay to like refine your messaging in a way where you would just you attract the right people for you, right? And this is yet another example of, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and not everybody's going to be your cup of tea, and that's okay, right? This is why so many people are out there, kind of spreading their message, their services, their time. And it's just really great to see a lot of entrepreneurs pick different social topics, and it's not just about making money. It's about, making an impact in the community that you do live in, or maybe globally, right? There's this huge opportunity to be kind of like a globally known name, because of the way that our world works now. I love working with people that, I work with some agencies or companies that you don't really know unless you dig into it, what kind of topics they support. I work with, now we're friends, where everybody that works for her company is like a mom and is local and is, in the realm of trying to be independent and work for themselves. Like that, to me, that's such a great, thing to support, to be able to support. But you wouldn't know that unless you dig into it. So that's why I love kind of like, getting a bunch of entrepreneurs together and talking about it.
Yeah. And values are one of those things that I think people are afraid to still put out there as part of their company or part of their brand. But it is that thing that makes you stand out. Anything that makes you stand out among your competitors is a good thing. And I do not nearly see enough folks talking about what their values are. So exactly that kind of business that has a team where they employ mothers who want to be independent, and local owned, like that's huge. Like, I would be more likely to support a company that does that versus, just anybody else on the internet. Like, you have to, as you said, we're now in a global economy. The internet has enabled us to, create businesses from home or from anywhere. But that also means that we're competing with with everybody around the world too. It's no longer like a local competition. So so you got to think of that too.
People are just afraid to isolate themselves, and what you just said, right, is a really good piece of marketing advice, right? Whatever makes you stand out from your competitors, that's kind of the angle that you should be taking in business. So I completely agree. But when you're at the beginning, I mean, I've been there, you're afraid to isolate yourself from potential clients until you get to the point where you can choose who you work with, which I think is a great place to be at. But I can see it's kind of like the idea of like the growth cycles in small business, right? Like, did you already experience growth? If you haven't experienced growth, you're less likely to have clear messaging because you're still kind of trying to figure out who your ideal audience is, right? So that's really great to see that. What is, if you were to redo your entrepreneurship journey, what would you do differently? Teach us.
Definitely. In the agency days, I don't have many regrets, but for sure in the agency days, I wish that I had asked for help sooner, because I feel like it was over 10 years, and I feel like I kind of like had this upward trend, but then really leveled off, especially in the last couple of years, and I just could not get it up higher. I actually was hiring people with and I had never reached like 6 figures in business, and I had heard somebody say like, I don't hire an employee until I hit like 6 figures, and then the next, and then the next. And that makes so much sense, because that's just really what it costs to hire somebody full time. Whereas I was like sacrificing my own income to pay to pay a director first to to handle all of the clients. That's not how you're supposed to do it. I learned that, but yeah, and I had mentors, in the last couple of years. Well, I've had mentors throughout the journey, but actually advisors, like with that title, in the last couple of years. And my problem was I didn't know what to ask for help with. Obviously, I wanted to make more sales, and I got, I tried to get help with that, but I just did not know what to ask. Whereas in this business, when I come across a challenge, I know immediately, okay, like I'm going to tap into my network. I'm not working formally with a mentor right now, but I at least have a couple different vegan business communities that I can tap into and ask for support. And so, I find, I'm trying not to repeat the mistakes of that previous business by, as soon as I come across a challenge, like ask for help right away, because that's the only way I'll be able to crowdsource solutions to it. So I would say that's my number one thing, is I wished I had asked for help more.
Right. And I come across this a lot in my, business when I talk to different business owners. And I think there's also the kind of the opposite side, where it's like people try to ask for help immediately, without kind of thinking, wait, maybe you don't need help right now. Maybe you need systems, maybe you need some tech, maybe you need some, something to make your operations kind of flow a little bit easier before you just start, spending money on like a human resource, right? So it's very funny that you say that. We all have such different impulses, I guess, when it comes to business, right? And a lot of the times, I bet now, you having had so much experience, you're probably like, there are some things that I can never let go control of, right? I struggle with that sometimes. I was like, no, I need to do this, versus
because now I don't have team members. I am my own brand. It's my name is my brand, and so I do I would say most things on my own, but I do have kind of a virtual assistant that I hire on certain projects, and I'm planning on kind of working with her more in the new year, because I'm going to be changing up some of my blog content. And so that's why your network, it's true what they say, your network is your net worth, because
Sure.
Even
For
as a
sure.
solopreneur, like you can't do everything. You have to rely
Right.
on other people who can do things that, yes, you can do as well, but it's worth investing in them so that you can free yourself to do other things and push your business forward.
Right, right. And it's all about finding that balance, right? Since you are the brand and you are the thinker, you obviously need to free up some time, to be able to do all those high level things. But I always say, it's better to assess first and audit and see what resources you actually have and see if you can resolve some of that with the current tech, because we've come a long way. I mean, we don't need to be running our books or our business from Excel sheets anymore. So once you do that, once you have some sort of system, it's great. It's great to have a virtual assistant. It's great to have an OBM. It's great to have help whenever you need it. But I can relate when you're saying I need to either make a certain amount of money to hire somebody, or no, I need help right now. Like, it's such a hard balance. And depending on what kind of industry you're in, it really could make a huge difference for your business if you know the timing of hiring somebody, or if you know the timing of, like, let's put a pause on this. Or in your case, when you know the timing of good marketing or when to invest in good marketing, that could literally elevate your brand a lot faster than now. And a lot of people, I feel like when I talk to them about, and you can tell me your opinion, a lot of people, I feel, when I talk about marketing to them, they just think of social media marketing, and that's not what I think of. Teach us, how should we think about marketing when we're thinking small business?
Well, I mean, my book kind of has it all. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to write vegan marketing success stories, not just to highlight what's going on in the vegan world, but so that anybody could pick up this book and learn all the different possible marketing tactics you could do, which are not always social media related.
For sure.
And be able to create a strategy for themselves. And so, I kind of break it down in the different chapters. There's advertising, there's direct marketing, sales promotions, public relations, digital marketing. So it's everything digital. Oh my gosh. So you've got my PR book.
Yes.
And then there's the in-person stuff, events, direct sales. I really just wanted to pack my book with everything you could possibly do, because absolutely it is not just social media. I would say social media is a basic. It's an easy place to start from. But you definitely have to have a website. I see people running their businesses all the time on Instagram, and it's like, no. You don't own Instagram. It can go down anytime. What happened to me is my account got hacked. I haven't had access to it for 2 months. And so you cannot run your business solely on social media. You got to have a website. I always recommend you have a blog, because that's how you can build your SEO up pretty naturally.
Yes.
Email list for sure, because again, you don't own social media. If you need another way to contact your audience, email list is it. And then from there, you layer on everything else. Like, you can put money into your social ads, events, advertising, everything else. But I would say social media is just one of the basics that you can start with, and then you layer on from there.
Yeah, no, it's really great advice to think of all the different avenues. And I think I mirror a lot of that advice when I talk to clients, to say you don't own these platforms. And even if let's say you have a website on Wix or something that is with a website builder, the reason why a lot of old school kind of designers say, no, WordPress is better, or something where you can own your website. The reality of it is, you have control over the hosting of it, and you have control over what you're posting on it. And if it ever goes down, which is highly unlikely with a lot of these big companies, it's not a question of you're getting banned for something, or your account's getting hacked. It's most likely just like a glitch, and then it comes right back on. But even in the last year, I don't know, I think Instagram has been down twice, and that's huge. And I think people are freaking out for the whole day, and everyone's like, oh my God, am I banned? Until they figured out that a whole bunch of us weren't able to get on, right? 100% you need a website, 100%. And I was pointing at your book because we were talking at one point about your vegan marketing book, and then you mentioned PR, and that's kind of like my next leg. And like, I want to understand more PR. I want to understand how to go about things before I decide to invest anything in PR, right? And I've had a couple of these conversations with clients lately, where I've seen some ridiculous proposals from PR agencies, and I'm thinking, while they could be really good for different companies or different brands, I'm like, this is so misaligned. But people don't understand like how to align themselves with the right professionals, because they don't know anything about PR. They just think that, hey, you must have really good contacts, and it takes more than really good contacts, right? Can you make a like, if there was anything that I was going to take out of this, by the way, guys, this is a workbook, so you can actually work through it and have a better idea. These are questions that will get your juices flowing about your own brand. So this is very practical. I got mine off of Amazon, so I'll make sure to post the links in the comments. But if there was something that we were going to take away from PR, just because I'm being selfish and this is my area of interest right now, what could we take away from it?
Oh my, yeah. I'm trying to think what would be the most useful bit, because
right.
I could.
It's a hard question. It's a hard question. Yeah.
Yeah. If there's one thing that I would say, it's think about the media or the folks, because it's not just media anymore, or the content creator that could leverage your business better than you could do yourself. That is kind of the essence of public relations. What PR really is, in my opinion, is your perception in the public's eye, right? You're exuding PR already just by what you're sharing online. Any type of content you're sharing online, you are forming some sort of perception in the public eye about your company or your brand, whether that's positive, negative, or neutral. And so so the book that Adriana is talking about is a workbook. It's meant to help you develop a PR strategy for yourself, for your business. Now, if you go through the book and you decide, I don't want to do this on my own, I've got to hire somebody, then at least you know what that person or that agency is supposed to deliver for you. And the kind of media or content creators or events that you need to appear in order to reach your ideal audience. That's really the crux of the whole thing, right? And if you don't have time to form those relationships yourself, then that's what that agency or that person needs to do for you. And if they're not doing that for you within the first couple of months, like, you got to revisit that agreement or that you've signed, because that's a sign that they may have promised you some things, but they haven't been able to deliver because maybe whether they didn't have the relationships or they were just not doing the work. But really, that's why I have a course that says, the title is Be Your Own Public Relations Star in 90 Days, because it should only take 90 days for you to get out in the media. Like, you just need to think about, what outlets do I need to connect with to help that would be interested in my business, because they've got the same audience. It's not rocket science. People always think like, oh, how are you able to appear in so-and-so outlet? No, I just reached out to them and I pitched them in a way that convinced them we've got a shared audience and it's to their benefit to feature me or my book or whatever.
Right.
That's it.
Right. It has to be a relationship. It's like a two-way street, right? That's what people kind of forget about. So I like that you highlighted that. You pitched them to convince them that, it is also beneficial for them because of X, Y, Z. And it's no longer just like, I'm giving you my time, or I'm giving you my, like, especially if you have a following or whatnot, people need to realize that I don't believe that you have to have like 1 million followers to get anywhere. I don't believe that. 2, there are a lot of people who have 1 million followers and aren't going anywhere. So if we're going to like draw anything from that, is that it all depends on how you go about your own brand. How authentic do you want to be with it? What are you putting out there? And are you creating a community? And we have this episode with the Social Snippet, right? So they're a social media agency, and we talked about the exact same thing. Trying to go viral is not that shouldn't be on your list if you're trying to build something that's sustainable. And two, there are many examples of people that have gone viral and it's actually done really negative things for their business because they weren't ready for it and they weren't in the space to be able to handle that. And then you have a bunch of people that are angry at you, right? So it can go sideways really quickly. So I love that you make it very clear that whatever you're putting out right now, that is PR, right? And you need to think about this sort of strategy. And I'm sure there are many, many agencies out there that are really good at doing this, and they are, helping their clients. It seems like every so often a client will come to me and be like, we're shooting for the stars. We're shooting for like Hollywood status. And I was like, oh, there's your first red flag. It's like, is that what you actually want? Is this the industry for it? Is that what you want to put out there? And it seems like these contracts are insane. Like so much money for somebody who's just starting out or for somebody who is looking to just kind of get to that first step. And I'm always like, you can do this on your own. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. You can submit a lot of articles. You can submit a lot of, pitches and put yourself out there. So that's really great advice. I can't wait to actually sit down over the break and start jotting down some things for myself. And I have these conversations all the time with other people in the industry, and there are a lot of people out there who are way better at this than me. So I was like, this is my next, I want to learn more about this,
That's great. Yeah. And again, to echo what you've said and what I said earlier, agencies start at $2,000 a month, right? Mm-hmm. And usually it's the bigger companies that maybe they don't have a marketing person on their team to handle media. And that's why they're hiring an agency, because that agency already has the relationships and can continue that relationship with this company and this brand. But if you're a solopreneur, you're better off, again, either, doing your own media outreach, just carving out that time, or if you, I still don't want to do it on your own, hire an independent publicist, somebody like me who has the connections and isn't going to charge you an arm and a leg because if you're not making six figures, then you're not going to be able to afford an agency. And so pick according to the scale of your own business. I think is the rule. Yeah. And again, my workbook will give you an idea of what it's like to build your own strategy and do your own campaign. But use it as a guide. If you know that you're not the type to send out those pitches, then hire somebody who's at the scale of your business. Lots of independent publicists out there and consultants, or very, very small agencies, that aren't going to charge a huge retainer.
Yeah. And they might also be able to give you some practical advice, right? Because they're kind of standing in the same level as you. If they're smaller, if they're, you know what I mean? So they're maybe seeing some of the problems a lot clearer than maybe some of the bigger agencies that are just like, they're just trying to get somebody else on the roster. Or when I'm not saying that the bigger agencies aren't great, but sometimes it's just nice to talk to another entrepreneur that has gone through these exact same steps before you. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're not just speaking to somebody in sales somewhere. You're speaking to somebody who has experienced the risk, gone through it, and you're on the kind of next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Because with an agency, you might initially be talking to the partners, and then you sign off an agreement. And what will happen is they'll assign you to an account manager, and with that account manager, they might have junior folks who are actually pitching your business. So, and that's fine. You just want to make sure that who exactly is pitching your business, because nobody knows it better than you. And so, if you can have that one-on-one convo with whoever's on that team at that agency who's representing you, you want to make sure that they're representing you as best as possible. Because the worst thing that could happen is they land you a story, but let's say you're high end, but they land you a piece in BuzzFeed, that's not the audience that you're looking for. You want more of a higher end, more of a prestigious outlet to appear in. Like BuzzFeed isn't nothing, but it's not the audience that you're looking for. So yeah, those are the kinds of conversations you have to have with whoever's representing you in terms of what is the right match for your brand or your business.
100%. I can already, see the appeal of, maybe landing a piece in BuzzFeed, but then thinking, but that's not what you're, what you stand for. That's like, it's not about buzz. It's not about creating like a little bit of like, like a trend. You're not a trend. You're trying to be someone that's sustainable. It's different for sure. We got onto the topics that are so interesting that I forgot to do our intro. So if you guys are just tuning in, you are listening to Negotiating Happiness, and we are live on the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And I am here today with Sandra Nomoto, author and ethical marketer. We're supposed to do this halfway through, and here we are just kind of continuing the conversation. So we talked about, social impact and what communities aren't talking about, especially when it comes to the realm of B certified corporations and, being an ethical marketer in the vegan sphere. We talked a bit about public relations and marketing in the vegan industry. And I think I want to know a little bit more about Sandra, kind of like what makes Sandra happy. I know that a lot of people answer, like with, I like to help people. I want to create more impact in the world. I'm talking about individual Sandra, like, what do you like to do? Some people, like for me, it's travel. So then I can talk about travel for forever, right? So what does Sandra like to do? Let us know you a little bit.
Yeah, my everyday life is not very exciting, I have to say. Like, I keep it pretty Monday to Friday. I work from home. I'm really blessed to be able to do that. I have clients all around the world. On the weekends, it's pretty simple. Like either I'm eating vegan food or eating vegan food out at a restaurant or ordering in. And then we hit like either a movie or TV show, my husband and I, here indoors, if we're not meeting up with friends or family. And I have a sister and a niece and a nephew. And they live really close. And so it's nice to be able to pop over to their place and visit them. But yeah, like aside from like having a positive impact in the world, which I feel like I've been able to do as a vegan and in my work, my greatest aspiration beyond that is to travel more. And it's been a long time since I've been like overseas. Like I've been to the US, so I'm in Vancouver. The US is pretty accessible. I feel like that's where I've been the last couple of years. Other than that, my last big trip was 5 years ago to Toronto and Montreal, because my cousin got married in Montreal and I've got a friend who lives in Toronto. So I kind of hit those two places in one trip. I've really been desiring to go either to France, where my aunt lives, or to the Philippines, which is my ancestors' home country. And I haven't been since I was 2 years old. So the motherland is truly calling me. Like if a country were to intuitively whisper to me, come home, that's it. The Philippines has been calling me for a while. So I'd love to be able to go there sooner than later. But yeah, that's it. Like my life is pretty simple. Like I'm a vegan. I try to make impact in my work, and my goal from here on out is to travel more.
Amazing. I love that. And you're just so far away. I always think of, when people say overseas, it's like, oh yeah, just hop on over to Europe. It's only like 6 hours, but for you, it would definitely be a lot longer than that. I fly out of Toronto, right? So it's not as bad as Vancouver, but I finally went to Vancouver last year. Was it last year? Yeah, last year. Yeah. So that was fun. It was like a work/girls kind of trip, which was really nice, and a bunch of moms getting together. It was great. We never ran out of snacks, which was amazing, and then we didn't have to share them, which was great. Yeah, that's amazing. I've never been to the Philippines. So you haven't been there since you were 2, you said?
No, and yeah, of course, everybody will say it's changed since then because it was 40 years ago. But
Sure.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I went, so I'm from Romania, and I had, some not as long, but I hadn't been back in 11 years, and it just felt like an eternity, and even in those 11 years, everything just changed, and I was just walking down the street, and all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh my god," like, all of these memories just, like, flood in. It's great. I think everybody should go to the motherland, especially if they're getting whispers of, "You need to come back," what kind of a breakthrough you're gonna go through. I love that stuff. I love going places with a purpose. And sometimes you don't know what the purpose is until you get there. So
Hmm.
mhm, that's amazing. So what's on the agenda for Sandra now? What's the new year kind of vibe? What projects are you working on?
One that is going to come up probably in the early new year that I'm really excited about is a client's book. So she is a vegan doctor who's in the LA area. Her name is Dr. Melissa Mandala, and she's going to be putting out a book called A New Way of Healthcare. And it's about
Mhm.
how emerging doctors or even experienced doctors can pivot their practice to focus on lifestyle medicine. Um, yeah. I met her earlier this year at the Vegan Women's Summit, gave her a copy of my book, and she said she was working on a book as well. And so, basically for the second half of this year, I've been editing her book, formatting. I just finished the first stage of the print formatting. I'll be doing her ebook, and then hopefully that'll be coming out early next year. So really excited about that. I'd really love to double down and work with more authors because it's something I really enjoy. And I've ghostwritten 2 books now. So while
Mhm.
I've edited and formatted quite a few books, I love the process of ghostwriting. So if you're listening out there and you've got enough expertise or a story, that's worth 30,000 words, but just need somebody to kind of pull it out from you. We can hop on Zoom and do that, for about an hour a week or whatever your schedule is. And get that down on paper. So I really love that process. So I'd love to, just really double down and work with more authors. And then on the
Mhm.
marketing side, I'm actually niching down even more. So
Ooh.
one aha that I had at the end of the summer this year was that vegans are my best clients. Like for whatever reason, we just have that immediate value alignment when we start chatting about working together. And it's a little
Right.
bit different than just working for a company that happens to be vegan where the owner isn't living that lifestyle. So I'm actually going to be taking, quite a big risk and niching down and only working with vegans starting next year on the marketing side. But it's one that I hope will pay off because I'm already pretty immersed in these communities online. And I'm
Yep.
hoping will just help me get closer to the clients that I'm already kind of in community with.
I'm trying to align with. Yeah, no, that makes
Exactly.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
I'm just working on, planning the new website. It's not really a new website. It's more just like adding a new page and kind of tweaking some language and then, putting that up right at the start of January and then seeing where it goes from there.
amazing, amazing. So basically new messaging, continuing projects. And for those of you that are listening, so Sandra can ghostwrite, she can edit and format. And I believe your vegan marketing book is also on Audible, right? So you have
It is.
experience with, yeah. And I I
I
think
did not narrate it, but somebody else did. And it is on Audible. So you can listen to my book. Yeah.
right, because that's the big thing right now, right? If you don't have time to like sit down and read something anymore, we just have to listen to it in the car while we're going through insane traffic. So that's the vibe.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll
Yeah,
calm you down. It won't add to your road rage.
yeah. Yeah, it goes to show our North American experience working is just a little bit more wild than the rest of the world. I feel like we don't value our peace as much. But
That's why you got to meditate at
Audible
some point
definitely
in the
helps.
day. Yeah.
I know, 100%. You have to find ways that work for you 100%. But, yeah. That's really great. I know that Sandra and I have had conversations about a future project together, so I'm excited for that. But it just seems like 2025 is around the corner, and I keep adding more and more to my plate. Right?
Need to delegate, maybe.
I know. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I delegate. I just don't think it's enough. And I'm like, yeah, I have time to do that. And then I look at my calendar and I'm thinking, wow, was I even thinking? No, probably not. Yes. So I've posted now in the comments, guys, I've posted the link on Amazon to the marketing book and also the PR book, the workbook. And if you guys wanted to see what Sandra's all about, after the show, you can go to sandranomoto.com. I've probably posted that in the comments as well. And you can follow her on Facebook, on YouTube. If you look in the description, you'll find all the links there as well. So thank you so much for coming on, Sandra. This has been really great. If you were to kind of leave off the conversation for today, what would you say to you can speak to your vegan community, right? What would you say to them in terms of impact? Like, what are some encouraging words that you would leave for your vegan community?
Oh, what a great question. Yeah, I believe that we all have a superpower. For me, it's been writing. Like, that's the earliest skill that I've built, and it happens to be a big part of my career. And for somebody else, it's not going to be writing. It might be speaking. It might be just one-on-one conversations with people. But yeah, I would urge you to really be outspoken in whatever way that works for you about veganism, because it's really important, not just for the animals, but for human health and planetary health. And yeah, and we could all just use more of that vegan love. So yeah, if you're not vegan, then please consider it. there's so many options for plant-based food out there, both in the grocery store and at restaurants. And if there aren't any at restaurants, ask the servers, ask the manager. Like, that's the only way anything's going to change, to just add more plants to our diets, and eat less animals. So yeah.
Yep. Amazing. Yeah, I could even say even from 10 years ago, things have changed quite a bit in terms
100%.
of, going out for restaurants and whatnot. And also going to other places, like traveling. I know that would have been hard in Europe. It's definitely changed a lot. There are definitely lots of options there too when you go. I would say that the States probably has the most options in terms of grocery stores. I just remember going into like a Trader Joe's and being like, oh my God, like we don't have any of this stuff like up here, right, in Canada. So there are options out there if this is something that you want to do and something that you're passionate about. I went vegan for 4 months for health reasons, and I have to say my stomach felt amazing. So there are definitely some good benefits to that as well. Yeah. But thank you so much for coming on.
The fiber is good for your gut.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming on. Everybody will be able to kind of go back and listen to the whole episode if you didn't catch it all, into our archives. Thank you so much to United Public Radio Network for providing us with the platform, and 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. You can catch us live on Mondays. If you wanted to watch some of our other shows, we're also on Roku TV if you wanted to watch it on your big screen TV. Thank you again, Sandra, and we will see everybody next week.
Thanks, Adriana.
Have a good one.